Do you want to be able to turn your cube faster while solving? If you do, then you've come to the right place. Here are 5 tips to help you turn faster. Let's get started. My first tip is to learn more finger tricks. Turning as fast as possible requires you to be ready for anything, and the more ways you can do different moves, the more likely you are to be ready for any situation you come across. Each algorithm or case requires specific finger tricks in order to execute it as fast as possible. For example, this J-perm requires an F prime with your left index finger, this OLL requires a D prime push with your left ring finger, the GC perm requires U2 double flicks with both hands, and this F2L case requires either a push U move or a flick U move. If you can't do these finger tricks, you'll lose a lot of time whenever you get these cases because you won't be able to turn as fast. When you first learn a new finger trick, it will be slower for a little while. This is because it takes time to get used to the new finger trick and get good enough at it for it to be faster. But if you stick to it and believe in yourself, you'll be able to incorporate really fancy finger tricks into your solves. My second tip is to learn better algorithms. A lot of algorithms, including some really common ones, are really slow either because they're just too long or because there's no good way to finger trick them. For example, the most common RA perm among beginners is actually pretty slow because the L moves are hard to do quickly for most people. A much better option is this algorithm, which uses R, U, and D moves, which you can execute extremely quickly with a little bit of practice. There are countless cases like this, and although it's possible to switch to better algorithms if you already know bad ones, the best thing to do is just learn good algorithms from the beginning. Just remember, you should learn things that are fast, not things that are easy. For instance, if you're learning the N perms for the first time, it might be easier to learn the alg where you do wide R prime D, wide R U2 5 times, but it's much faster to learn one of the several other N perm algs. If you keep this kind of thing in mind when you're learning algorithms, it will allow you to turn much faster during your last layer. On a similar note, tip number 3 is to drill your algorithms. Drilling means that you do an algorithm over and over again to practice the execution. This allows you to find the best possible execution for each algorithm, get used to doing all the finger tricks in sequence, and refine it to the point that you can execute the alg as fast as possible. Obviously, the more you drill an alg, the faster you'll be able to do it, but you can optimize your practice even further by being smart about it. If you're drilling a PLL, you'll want to find finger tricks for any possible AUF, and incorporate those finger tricks into your drills. Doing things like that ensures that all of your practice goes towards scenarios that will actually happen during your solves. And you don't just have to drill OLLs and PLLs. You can drill things like F2L cases in the same way, which is even more useful if you practice them starting from different grips and things like that. If you do enough drilling, you'll be able to execute anything that comes your way at lightning speed. Tip number 4 is to get more efficient at F2L. Sometimes the best thing to do so you can do moves faster is have less moves that you have to do. The first step to good efficiency is making sure that you know how to solve your F2L cases from start to finish instead of having to figure it out along the way. If you have to figure it out as you go, then you're probably just going to be following the basic F2L flowchart, which is pretty inefficient in most cases. Instead, you need to make sure that the ways you know how to solve your F2L cases are as efficient as possible. Most of the time, this is pretty easy to do, but for certain cases it can be much more tricky. Those tricky cases include cases where the pieces are connected wrong, and cases where one or both pieces are in a slot instead of being in the top layer. Here's a case that I love to use as an example. If you do the most intuitive beginner solution for this case, it will take 11 moves. But if you solve it in a slightly different way, you can cut that move count down to 8 very easily. 3 moves might not seem like a lot, but saving moves can really add up and help you a lot. I went over the math involved with this in another video I made that you should definitely watch. And one more important thing to remember is that you can drill these more efficient F2L solutions as well, and that will be incredibly helpful when you're trying to turn faster. And last but not least, we have tip number 5. Which won't come as a surprise if you've been really observant throughout this video. Tip 5 is to realize that turning faster isn't actually that important.
See, I pulled a sneaky on you.
Some of you will have noticed that some of these tips actually don't have anything to do with turning faster, and I did that on purpose. Turning faster is one of the skills that doesn't matter nearly as much as a lot of people think it does, especially at beginner and intermediate skill levels, yet it's something that a lot of beginners are drawn to as something they absolutely have to learn. On the other hand, all of the tips I gave in this video are great for getting faster, but a lot of beginners will completely ignore them because they don't think they're important or aren't motivated enough to put in the work. So what I decided to do was make a video about these tips and then frame and market it in a way that would attract all of the beginners who are only interested in turning faster. If you're one of those people, then I have a message for you. Don't worry about turning fast. There are lots of things that will be much more helpful for you, like working on your finger tricks, your efficiency, and making sure you learn good algorithms and can execute them in good ways. Basically, everything I went over in this video. Hopefully you guys can forgive me for this little bamboozle, but I think it'll be helpful for a lot of people. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see some more awesome tutorials and stuff, make sure to subscribe. I have a ton of helpful stuff here and I'm always working on more. I'll see you guys later and I hope you have a wonderful day. This is Brody, signing out.